My family gave my $2 million dream home to my brother 2 hours before closing. Not after I moved in. Not after a discussion. Not after asking me if I was willing to help. 2 hours before I was supposed to sit across from the seller, sign the final documents, wire the remaining balance, and receive the keys to the home I had dreamed about for almost 9 years. My name is Naomi Bennett. I was 39 years old, standing in the private closing room of Hartwell Title Company, wearing a cream suit, holding my lucky pen, and trying not to cry because I thought I was about to begin the happiest chapter of my life. The house was everything I had quietly wanted. A white stone home at the edge of Willowcrest, 5 bedrooms, a library with tall windows, a wide kitchen, a garden full of old roses, a sunroom, a long driveway lined with trees, a small guest cottage that I planned to turn into a writing studio, not for business, not for family use, not for emergencies, for me, for silence, for breathing, for the part of me that had spent years being the dependable daughter, the reliable sister, the family bank, the crisis fixer, the one who always understood because everyone else always needed something louder. I had built Bennett ClearPath Solutions from one desk, one laptop, and one exhausted woman into a national healthcare logistics company. I had earned every dollar. I had paid off my parents' mortgage, helped my brother Marcus through failed businesses, covered school fees for nieces and nephews, paid medical bills, funded holidays, sent money when people cried, sent more when they said it was urgent. But this house was not supposed to be another family solution. This house was mine. At least, that was what I believed when I walked into the title company that morning. My lawyer, Vivian Hart, sat beside me with her tablet open and her glasses low on her nose. Grace Monroe, my best friend and CFO, sat on my other side, holding coffee and looking around like she expected betrayal to jump out of the ceiling. "Relax," I whispered. Grace looked at me. "Your family knows the closing is today?" "Yes." "Then I am relaxed at a medically responsible level." Vivian did not look up from her tablet. "Grace is right to be alert." I sighed. "You two are impossible." Vivian tapped the screen. "Naomi, you told your mother the address?" She asked. "She always asks before she leaks." Grace pointed at Vivian. "That should be on a mug." I almost laughed. Almost. Because deep down, I was nervous too. Not about the house. The house was clean. Vivian had reviewed everything. Inspection done. Title cleared. Funds ready. Seller waiting. The only thing not clean was my family's relationship with anything I owned. My mother had already called the house a blessing for all of us. My father said it was too much house for one woman. Marcus had asked whether the guest cottage had its own bathroom. Tasha, his wife, had asked what school district the house was in, then said she was just curious. Nothing in my family was ever just curious. Still, I convinced myself this time would be different. Because they knew how much this house meant to me. Because I had told them clearly. Because even they would not try to take something from me before I had the keys. Then the door opened. My parents walked in. My father, Leonard Bennett, came first, wearing a dark suit and the stiff expression he used when he wanted his decision to arrive before his explanation. My mother, Patricia, followed with red eyes and a tissue in her hand. Behind them came Marcus, my older brother, unemployed again, though he called it between ventures. He wore a navy blazer, expensive shoes I knew he had not paid for, and a calm smile that made my skin go cold. Tasha came beside him, holding a folder. That was the first sign. Not my father's face, not my mother's tears. Tasha's folder. I looked at Vivian. Vivian had gone still. Grace whispered, "There it is." I stood slowly. "Why are you all here?" My mother came toward me. "Baby, please don't be upset." I stepped back before she could touch me. Her face changed. Just a little. My father closed the door behind him. "Naomi, we need to talk before the closing." "No," Vivian said immediately. "Any discussion about this closing can happen through counsel." My father ignored her. "This is family." Vivian smiled without warmth. "Then it should have started with honesty." Marcus rolled his eyes. Can we not do the lawyer drama? Grace looked at him. Can you not do unemployment theater in a title office? His face tightened. I held up my hand. Enough. Why are you here? My mother began crying. Of course. Your brother needs this house. The room went silent. For a moment, I did not understand the sentence. Not because it was unclear, because it was insane. My brother needs what house? My father said, the Willow Crest house. I laughed once. Not because anything was funny, because sometimes shock leaves the body as the wrong sound. The house I am buying? Marcus stepped forward. Naomi, don't say it like that. Like what? Like we're stealing from you. Grace muttered. Great, we're starting close to the truth. Tasha opened the folder. We have been discussing this as a family. I looked at her. As a family? She hesitated. I turned to my father. Without me, he looked annoyed. Naomi, listen. Marcus and Tasha have 3 children. They are losing their rental. Marcus has a serious opportunity coming, but he needs stability. That house has 5 bedrooms and a cottage. It makes sense for a real family. A real family. There it was. The knife in Sunday clothes. I stood in the closing room with my name on every document, my money ready to move, my life about to change, and my father looked at me like I was only half a household. I said, I am a real family. My mother sobbed. Baby, no one is saying you are not. Yes, you are. You're just crying while saying it. Marcus pointed at the table. You can buy another house. Grace laughed sharply. With what? Your confidence. Marcus ignored her. You have money, Naomi. You have options. We don't. I looked at him. You had options. You chose not to pay rent. Tasha's face flushed. That is unfair. No, what's unfair is walking into my closing with a folder. Vivian held out her hand. Let me see the folder. Tasha hugged it to her chest. No. Vivian's eyes sharpened. Interesting. My father said, we are asking Naomi to assign the purchase contract to Marcus before closing. My stomach dropped. Assign the purchase contract. Not borrow, not stay temporarily, not ask for help. They had come with a legal plan. Vivian stood. No. My mother cried harder. Vivian, please. The children. Vivian turned to her. Mrs. Bennett, children are not legal instruments. My mother gasped, like Vivian had slapped her. But Vivian was right. My family had brought children into the room without bringing them physically. They were using them as soft weapons. Marcus stepped closer to me. Sis, think about it. You can still help. You can buy another place smaller. Or we can let you stay in the cottage for a while. For a while. The cottage I planned for myself. The quiet little cottage where I imagined writing, resting, drinking tea, and being unreachable. He had already placed me there. In the back of my own dream, my hands turned cold. You were going to let me stay in the cottage? Marcus blinked. That came out wrong. No, it came out clear. Tasha finally spoke. The main house is better for children. I looked at her. The main house is better for the person buying it. She lowered her eyes. My father pushed a document across the table. Naomi, sign the assignment. We will repay you for the deposit once Marcus's funding comes through. Grace made a sound that was almost a laugh. Marcus's funding? Is that before or after his invisible company hires invisible staff? Marcus snapped, stay out of this. Grace leaned forward. I am Naomi's CFO. I have watched money disappear into your funding for years. I am very much in this. Vivian picked up the paper without signing anything. She read the first page, then the second. Then the third. Her face did not change, but I saw her jaw tighten. What is it? I asked. Vivian looked at my father. Who drafted this? My father hesitated. Marcus said, Darren Cole. Vivian closed her eyes for 1 second. Grace whispered, Printer with a law degree? Vivian nodded. My heart started beating faster. What does it say? Vivian turned the document toward me. It is an assignment of purchase rights, transferring your buyer position to Marcus before closing. I heard that part. There is more. Of course there was. There was always more when my family brought papers. Vivian continued. It also says the earnest deposit you paid will remain applied to the closing. Marcus would receive credit for it. Any reimbursement to you is described as voluntary and subject to available funds after future refinancing. My mother stopped crying for 1 second. What does that mean? Grace answered before Vivian could. It means Marcus gets Naomi's deposit and maybe pays her back when unicorns start lending. Marcus snapped. That's not fair. Vivian turned another page. And page 5 references post-closing refinance authority, using the property as collateral for business development and family housing stabilization. The room went cold. I looked at Marcus. How much debt are you in? He looked away. My father said, that is not relevant. It is absolutely relevant. Tasha whispered, Marcus. He glared at her. That glare told me she knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. I looked at my father. You knew he planned to refinance the house? My father did not answer. Dad? He looked at me then, and for the first time that morning, shame crossed his face. Only a flash, but I saw it. You knew, I whispered. My mother looked at him. Leonard? He said nothing. My mother stood slowly. Leonard, what is she talking about? Marcus snapped. It's just a bridge loan strategy. Grace put her coffee down. Bridge loan strategy. I need to start a dictionary for broke men with big vocabulary. Vivian looked at me. Naomi, you are not signing this. I stared at the paper. My dream home. My deposit. My closing. My name. My family had not only tried to give the house to Marcus, they had planned to use my deposit, my purchase contract, and the property itself to secure his failing life. My mother had cried. My father had hidden the refinance plan. Marcus had smiled. Tasha had carried the folder, and all of them had expected me to understand. I picked up my pen. My mother gasped with relief. Thank God. I looked at her. Then I placed the pen back into my purse. I'm stopping the closing. Every face changed. Marcus stepped forward. What? My father frowned. Naomi, don't be foolish. I looked at Vivian. Can we stop it before the wire? Vivian nodded. Yes. You may pause or terminate under the contingency and conduct provisions we preserved. We need to act immediately. Marcus looked panicked. No, wait. Tasha's face went pale. My mother started crying again, but now her tears sounded afraid. I looked at the closing officer through the glass wall, then back at my family. You wanted the house so badly that you made it unsafe for me. So nobody gets it. Marcus's mouth opened. You would lose the house just so I don't get it? I stepped closer. No, Marcus. I would lose the house to make sure you never learn that pressure works. My father said, this will destroy the family. No, I said, this family was already destroying me. I'm just stopping the closing before I sign the deed to my own erasure. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight. And if your family has ever turned your dream into their emergency, stay with this story. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what you love before they use it to keep taking from you. I did not grow up in a home that felt like mine. That is where the story truly begins. Our house on Cedar Lane had 3 bedrooms, but somehow none of them belonged completely to me. My brother Marcus had his room, his posters, his trophies, his mess, and his door that everyone knocked on before entering. I shared with Brianna for years, then later slept in a small back room after my grandmother Ruth moved in with us for a while. My mother called it cozy. It was not cozy. It was storage, with a bed, boxes near the closet, old church decorations under the window, my father's files on the shelf. Whenever family came from out of town, my room was the first offered. Naomi understands, my mother would say. And I did. That was the problem. I understood my way out of space. I understood my way out of privacy. I understood my way out of new shoes, school trips, birthday parties, quiet afternoons, and later, even money. Marcus needed encouragement. Brianna needed gentleness. My parents needed help. Naomi understood. By the time I was 20, I could make myself small in any room. Grandma Ruth saw it. She always did. One night, after my parents gave my desk to Marcus because he needed a proper workspace for a course he later quit, I sat outside on the back steps and cried quietly. Grandma Ruth came out with 2 cups of tea. She sat beside me without asking what happened. After a while, she said, "A person can live in a house for years and still not have a home." I wiped my face. "I don't need much." She looked at me sharply. "That is what people say when they have been trained not to ask." I did not answer. She touched my hand. "Naomi, one day you must build a place where your spirit does not have to move over for everyone else." That sentence became a seed. For years, I carried it quietly. A place where my spirit does not have to move over. I worked hard because work gave me space when family did not. School gave me marks that belonged to me. Jobs gave me money that belonged to me. Later, business gave me power I did not yet know how to protect. Bennett ClearPath Solutions started from a borrowed desk in a tiny office above a pharmacy. I helped clinics and hospitals fix operations, reduce supply waste, and improve patient systems. I worked until my eyes burned. I slept on office floors. I ate noodles. I wore the same 2 blazers until Grace threatened to donate me to Fashion Mercy. Grace became my best friend in college, and later my CFO. She was sharp, loyal, funny, and allergic to my family's emotional manipulation. She saw patterns before I did. When Marcus borrowed money for the 3rd failed business, Grace said, "Naomi, your brother is not an entrepreneur. He is a subscription service with a beard." I got mad, then sent the money anyway. When my mother asked for help with a church pledge she had made in my name, Grace said, "Your mother is giving publicly with your private wallet." I defended my mother, then paid. When my father said, "You have more than enough," Grace looked at me and said, "That sentence has stolen more from women than most burglars." She was right. But being right does not cut old cords overnight. My family did not steal my money all at once. They learned me. That is worse. They learned the soft places. My mother learned tears worked if she said baby first. My father learned disappointment worked if he mentioned family duty. Marcus learned anger worked if he accused me of thinking I was better than him. Tasha learned children worked if she looked tired enough. And I learned to pay before the guilt became unbearable. By 37, I had money. Serious money. But money without boundaries is only a bigger bowl for people to eat from. I bought my first condo, and my family treated it like a family lounge. I bought a beach villa, and they tried to plan reunions there. I bought cars, and people borrowed them. I paid school fees, and people thanked God publicly, not me privately. I gave and gave until Grace finally forced me to review 1 year of family expenses. The number nearly made me sick. Hundreds of thousands. In 1 year. I promised myself I would change. I did change. Some, but not enough. Because the dream home was different. Willowcrest had lived in my heart for years. The first time I saw the house, I was 30. I had taken a wrong turn after a client meeting and ended up on a quiet road lined with trees. There it was, behind a stone wall and black iron gate. White stone, green shutters, wide porch, roses climbing near the side, a library visible through tall windows. It looked like the kind of home where a woman could finally exhale. I pulled over for a minute just to look. Then I drove away and told no one. Over the years, I checked it sometimes. Not obsessively, just enough. When it sold to another family, I felt silly sadness. When it came back on the market years later, I was ready. The seller was an older couple downsizing to live near their children. They liked my offer because I wrote a letter about loving the house, the garden, and the history. I did not mention family. I did not say legacy. I did not say Bennett home. I said I wanted to care for it. They accepted my offer, even though another buyer offered slightly more. That made the house feel chosen. Maybe that was why stopping the closing hurt so much. It was not just a transaction. It felt like walking away from a version of myself I had been trying to reach for years. But there, in the closing room, watching my family try to move Marcus into my dream, before I even signed, I realized something painful. If I continued, that house would never be free. The trees would remember the folder. The library would remember Marcus saying I could stay in the cottage. The kitchen would remember my mother's tears. The driveway would remember my father's silence. The guest cottage would never be a writing studio. It would be the place my family had assigned me after taking the main house in their minds. So I stopped the closing. Vivian moved fast. That was one of her gifts. While my family argued, cried, and accused, Vivian walked into the main office and spoke to the closing officer. Grace called the bank to pause the wire. The seller's attorney joined by phone. Everything became technical. Contract terms, material interference, attempted unauthorized assignment, pressure from third parties, pause rights, mutual release possibility, earnest money protection. My parents did not understand the words, but they understood the outcome. The house would not close that day. Marcus followed me into the hallway. "You can't do this." I turned. "I already did. You're punishing my children." "No. I am stopping their father from using them as furniture movers in a theft." His face twisted. "You always thought you were better than me." "No, Marcus. I kept hoping you would become better than this." That landed. For a second, he had no comeback. Then anger returned. "You're going to regret losing that house." I nodded slowly. "Maybe. But I would regret signing it away to your entitlement more." Tasha approached quietly. Her eyes were wet. "Naomi, I didn't know the reimbursement part." I looked at her. "But you knew about the assignment." She looked down. "Yes. And you came anyway." "Yes." "Then start there," she cried. "I'm sorry." "Not enough." She nodded. "I know." My mother stood near the doorway, shaking. "Naomi, please, we can fix this." I looked at her. "No. Baby, no. Do not baby me right now." She flinched. I continued. "You came to my closing to take my dream home and give it to Marcus. You cried before you apologized. You let Dad hide the clause. You let Marcus speak like I was less, because I live alone. You came with a plan." She sobbed. "I wanted everyone safe." "No, Mom, you wanted everyone comfortable and you expected me to pay for the comfort." My father finally spoke. "Naomi, enough." I turned to him. "That word does not work anymore." His face changed. I had never said it so calmly. He said, "You are tearing this family apart." "No, Dad, I am removing myself from the part that feeds on me." Then I turned to Vivian. "I'm ready." We left the title company without the house. No keys, no closing photo, no happy tears, no new beginning. Just me, Grace, Vivian, my purse, my lucky pen, and a grief so heavy I could feel it behind my knees. In the parking lot, I broke. I leaned against Grace's car and cried like something had died. Because something had. The dream. The house. The belief that my family would see me happy and protect that happiness. Grace held me. Vivian stood nearby, giving me privacy but not distance. "I loved that house," I cried. Grace rubbed my back. "I know. I wanted it so badly. I know. I hate them." "No," she said gently, "you hate what they made you choose." That was true. I did not want to choose between my dream and my safety. But my family had placed those things on opposite sides of the table. So I chose safety. That evening, I went home to my condo. It felt smaller than usual. Not physically, spiritually. Like every room knew I had returned without the future I expected. I took off my cream suit. Put the lucky pen in a drawer. Sat on the floor of my bedroom. And cried until there was nothing left but breathing. Then my phone started. Mother, father, Marcus, Tasha. Unknown relatives. Mother again. I turned it off. The next morning, Vivian came over with Grace. No soft entry. No, how are you feeling? Just coffee, folders, and strategy. Vivian placed a document on my table. You said you wanted to cut them off. Yes. Emotionally or financially? I looked at her. Both, but start with financially. Grace opened her laptop. I have waited years for this sentence. We began the cutoff. Not a dramatic speech. A list. Family support account closed. Marcus's emergency transfers stopped. Tasha's card access removed. Parents' discretionary allowance suspended. Medical support converted to direct verified payments only. School payments for Marcus's children paid through the current term, then responsibility returned to parents. Church donation card removed. Family vacation membership canceled. Phone plans separated. Insurance backups removed. Marcus's old consulting profile deleted. Addresses corrected. Emergency contacts updated. Beneficiaries reviewed. Document vault access changed. No new loans. No guarantees. No deposits. No business funding. No housing support without written terms. No property discussions. No access to my homes. No surprise visits. No emotional emergencies paid in cash. Every name attached to my financial life was reviewed. Every open door was checked. Some closed. Some locked. Some bricked over. Grace called it financial pest control. Vivian called it boundary implementation. I called it survival. The reactions came quickly. My mother's first message. Naomi, why did the church donation fail? Then, baby, please don't punish God's work because you are upset. I replied once, do not make promises with my money again. My father called about their monthly support. I answered with Vivian listening. Naomi, the transfer did not come. I stopped it. You cannot just stop helping your parents. I can stop unstructured support after you tried to take my house. His voice lowered. We raised you, and I have paid you back in money, patience, and years of silence. The account is closed. He hung up. Marcus texted from multiple numbers. You ruined everything. The seller would have worked with us. My kids could have had stability. You chose a house over family, then didn't even take the house. Stupid. You think money makes you God. I blocked each number. Tasha sent one message. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I am sorry. I should not have come. I did not respond immediately. 2 days later, I replied, I hear you. Do not contact me about money or housing. She wrote back, understood. That one word mattered. Marcus would never have written it then. My mother came to my condo 3 days later. The front desk called. She is crying, the concierge said softly. I'm sure she is. Should I send her up? No. My voice shook, but I said it. No. For 20 minutes, my mother called from the lobby. Then she left a voicemail. Naomi, I am your mother. Please don't treat me like a stranger. I listened once, then saved it in the folder Vivian created. Not because I wanted to punish her, because I had learned emotional pressure needed documentation too. A week later, the seller's agent called. The Willow Crest couple was saddened by the failed closing, but willing to reopen if I still wanted to proceed privately. I sat with that information for a full day. Grace said, you don't have to decide from guilt or grief. Vivian said, legally, we can protect the purchase better this time. I drove to Willow Crest alone. I parked outside the gate. The house looked the same. Beautiful. Waiting. The roses moved in the wind. For a moment, I saw my life there again. Books in the library. Tea in the sunroom. Morning walks in the garden. The writing cottage. Peace. Then I saw Marcus in the closing room. My mother crying, my father's folded arms, Tasha's folder. The cottage offered to me for a while. The house no longer felt like a dream. It felt like a place my family had touched with entitlement before I could enter. I cried quietly in the car. Then I called the agent. "I'm not moving forward." She was kind. "I understand." I did not explain. Some grief does not need a witness. I lost a portion of money in the process. Not the whole deposit, thanks to Vivian, but enough. Enough to feel it. Enough to make the choice real. When Marcus found out I let the house go, he sent one final message through Tasha's phone. "You lost it for nothing." I stared at the words. Then I replied, "No, I lost it to stop losing myself." Then I blocked Tasha too for a while. The next months were hard. Do not let anyone tell you cutting people off feels instantly powerful. Sometimes it feels like grief wearing armor. My family had been wrong. Yes. They had betrayed me. Yes. But the silence after cutting them off was still heavy. No mother's voice. No father's lectures. No chaotic Marcus calls. No family group messages. No Sunday dinners. No little updates about nieces and nephews. No noise. At first, the quiet felt like punishment. Then slowly, it became information. I learned how much of my life had been filled with managing other people's needs. Without that noise, I could hear myself. And at first, I did not know what I sounded like. Therapy helped. Dr. Elaine Carter listened while I explained the closing room. When I finished, she asked, "What hurt most?" "The house." She waited. "No," I said after a while. "The cottage." Her eyes softened. "Why?" "Because Marcus had already decided I could live in the back of my own dream." That sentence broke me open. I cried for the girl who gave up her desk, the teenager who gave up her room, the woman who almost gave up her house. Always moved to the back, always understanding, always grateful for leftover space. Dr. Elaine said, maybe stopping the closing was not losing the dream. Maybe it was refusing to repeat the room. That stayed with me. Refusing to repeat the room. My parents requested a meeting 2 months later. I said no. They requested again through Brianna. Brianna, to her credit, did not pressure me. She simply said, "They asked me to ask. I told them I would pass it once and not again. Thank you." "Are you okay?" "No." "Do you want me to come over?" "Yes." She came that night with soup and her baby daughter Ruth. Baby Ruth crawled on my rug, grabbed my slipper, and laughed like betrayal was not real. It helped. Brianna sat beside me. "I'm sorry they did that." "You didn't." "No, but I know what it feels like when they use someone else's need as the excuse. They did it with me before." I nodded. "They almost made you the reason once." "I know," she said softly. "I still feel sick about it." We sat in quiet. Then she asked, "Will you ever talk to them again?" "I don't know." "That's fair." That was the difference between pressure and love. Love could accept "I don't know." Pressure needed yes. Eventually, I agreed to one meeting. Vivian's office. Grace present. No Marcus. My parents arrived looking tired. My mother did not rush toward me. That was new. My father did not begin with authority. Also new. They sat across from me. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then my father said, "I am sorry." I waited. "For what specifically?" I asked. He swallowed. "For coming to your closing with those papers. For knowing Marcus planned to refinance and not telling you. For using the children and your mother's tears to pressure you. For calling your dream too much because you live alone. For offering you the cottage like your own life belonged behind your brother's needs." My throat tightened. That last one. The cottage. He had heard it. My mother cried quietly. Not loud. Not weaponized. Quiet. "I am sorry too," she said. For what specifically? For crying before I told the truth. For calling it family when it was pressure. For thinking Marcus's children made your dream negotiable. For promising myself you would understand because you always do. For making your happiest day unsafe. I looked down at my hands. They were steady. That surprised me. Why? I asked. My father looked ashamed. Because I am tired of Marcus failing. So you tried to hand him my future. Yes, he whispered. My mother added, and because I wanted everyone gathered in a beautiful house and did not care enough that it was supposed to be yours first. That honesty hurt, but it was clean. I said, I lost the house. My mother covered her mouth. My father closed his eyes. I know, he said. No. You know the fact. You don't know the feeling. He nodded. You're right. I need you both to understand something. I am not restoring financial support. I am not opening access. I am not returning to the old family system. If we have a relationship, it will be smaller, slower, and honest. My mother nodded quickly. My father nodded slowly. No more money promises in my name, I said. Yes, my mother whispered. No more asking me to solve Marcus. Yes. No more statements about what is too much for one woman. My father looked at me. Yes. No surprise visits. Yes. No using Brianna or the children to reach me. Yes. No house discussions. Yes. The meeting ended without hugs. My mother wanted one. I could see it, but she did not ask. That restraint was the first apology she acted out instead of spoke. Marcus refused accountability longer. His life collapsed without the house plan. The rental was lost. Tasha took the children to her sister's place. Marcus blamed me loudly enough that relatives called. Aunt Linda called too. She said, I heard you stopped the closing. Yes. Good. I blinked. Good? Baby, a house that begins with family theft will never hold peace. I cried when she said that, because it confirmed what I had feared and needed. The house had been beautiful, but peace cannot grow in stolen soil. Marcus finally asked to meet 8 months later. I said no. A year later, he asked again. This time, his message was different. I am not asking for money. I want to apologize. I'll meet wherever you choose. I know I don't deserve access. Vivian said, public place. Grace said, I'll be nearby. So I met him at a cafe. Marcus looked different, less polished, less loud. He had a job now, warehouse operations. A real one, with shifts, supervisors, and paychecks that arrived because he worked, not because he pitched. He sat across from me. I'm sorry. For what specifically? He breathed in. For trying to take the house. For letting Dad draft that assignment. For knowing about the refinance plan. For telling myself you could buy another house because I wanted that one. For saying you could stay in the cottage. For making your dreams smaller so mine could feel possible. That last line landed. I looked out the window. Then back at him. You made me lose it. He nodded. I know. No. Hear me. I loved that house, Marcus. His eyes filled. I know. You don't get to make that small. I won't. Why did you do it? He wiped his face roughly. Because I was desperate, and jealous, and ashamed. And because I knew everyone would pressure you before they ever let me face what I'd done wrong. That was true. Ugly, but true. I said, they protected you from consequences until you became one. He lowered his head. Yes. I did not forgive him that day. Not fully, but I heard him. Sometimes that is the first unlocked door. A year and a half after the failed closing, something unexpected happened. The Willowcrest house sold to someone else. I thought I would break when I heard. Instead, I felt sadness, then peace. A clean ache, not a fresh wound. I drove past it one last time. The new owners had hung a swing on the porch. Children's bicycles stood near the garage. Roses still climbed the wall. The house looked loved. Not mine, but loved. I whispered, be good to them. Then I drove away. That was when I realized the dream had changed. I no longer wanted a house because I needed proof that I deserved space. I wanted a home that began without fighting for permission. 6 months later, I found another place. Not as grand as Willowcrest. No long dramatic driveway, no guest cottage, no 5 bedrooms waiting to become arguments. It was a warm stone house near a quiet park with 3 bedrooms, a library, a garden, and a small glass sunroom. The first time I walked in, I did not feel thunder. I felt rest. Grace stood beside me. "What do you think?" I looked around. No cottage. She smiled. "Excellent feature." Vivian reviewed everything twice. This time, I told my family after closing. Not before. No one had the address until I chose. No one attended the signing. No one saw the keys until they were already mine. On closing day, I invited only Grace, Vivian, Brianna, and baby Ruth. We sat on the floor of the empty library eating takeout. Grace raised her plastic cup. To the house nobody knew about until it was too late. Vivian added, "To clean title and no brothers." Brianna laughed. I cried. Not the old grief. New tears. The kind that come when your body finally believes the door is locked. Months later, I invited my parents for lunch. They arrived together. No folders. No tears at the threshold. No Marcus. My mother stood outside and waited for me to open the door. My father held flowers. He said, "May we come in?" May we? Those 2 words nearly undid me. "Yes," I said. They entered slowly. My mother looked around. "It's beautiful." "Thank you," my father said. "It feels like you." I waited for the follow-up. Too small? Too big? Good for family? Could Marcus? Nothing came. He simply said, "Peaceful." I nodded. "It is." At lunch, my mother asked before entering the kitchen. My father did not sit at the head of the table because I bought a round table again. No head. No throne. No automatic authority. After we ate, my mother said, "I wish we had celebrated Willowcrest with you the right way." I looked at her. "You didn't." "No," she said. "We didn't." My father added, "We stole that day from you." I appreciated that. Not ruined. Not complicated. Stole. "I am trying not to let you steal this one," I said. They both nodded. That was all. No defense. No collapse. Just truth sitting at the table like an invited guest. I started the closing room project the following year. It began because I could not stop thinking about how many women were pressured at the very edge of ownership. Right before signing. Right before closing. Right before inheritance transfer. Right before lease renewal. Right before a business deal. Right when their dream was almost real and family fear rushed in to redirect it. The project helped women protect purchases, inheritances, property contracts, deposits, and major financial decisions from last-minute family pressure. Vivian taught legal sessions called "Do Not Sign Under Tears." Grace taught "Your deposit is not family credit." Brianna taught "Need without taking." I taught stopping the closing is sometimes saving yourself. At the first workshop, I told the story of Willowcrest. My voice shook when I described the cottage. Women in the room understood immediately. One said, "My brother told me I could keep the basement after I bought the house." Another said, "My parents wanted me to add my sister before closing." Another said, "I signed because everyone was crying." We sat with that. Not judgment, truth. Then Vivian said, "Let's learn how to make sure crying people do not become contract parties." People laughed through tears. The project grew quickly. We created checklists. Who knows about the closing? Who benefits from pressure? Who has seen the documents? Who may try to assign, co-sign, co-own, occupy, borrow against, or redirect? Who is using children as leverage? Who says you can buy another one? Who says it is too much for you? Who says family first when your name is on the line? The biggest lesson was simple. A dream is most vulnerable right before it becomes real. That is when people rush in. Because they can see the key in your hand. Because they can smell the new paint. Because they can imagine themselves inside what you worked for. Because your joy forces them to confront their own lack of discipline, planning, or courage. So they call your dreams selfish, too big, too much, wasted, unfair. They say you should understand, but understanding does not mean surrender. Love does not mean assignment. Family does not mean free transfer. And sometimes, stopping the closing is the only way to stop the pattern. My family changed slowly. Not perfectly. My parents learned not to ask about property. My mother still cried sometimes, but now she said, "These are feelings, not requests." That sentence became famous in our family. My father got better at admitting when he was tempted to rescue Marcus through me. Once he called and said, "Your brother is in trouble again." I said nothing. He continued, "I am not asking you for money. I just needed to say, I feel the old habit." That mattered. "What will you do?" I asked. "I will tell him I love him and ask what his plan is." Good. Marcus stayed employed, then moved into a small rental, then slowly rebuilt his relationship with Tasha and the children. He came to my new house only after 2 years. He knocked. He brought no bags. He asked before stepping past the entry rug. Grace whispered, "Growth looks weird on him." I told her to behave. She did not. Marcus stood in the library and said, "This is nice." I smiled. "Yes." "No cottage?" "No." He winced. "I deserved that." "You did." He nodded. Then said, "I'm glad you got a home." "Thank you." "I'm sorry it wasn't Willow Crest." "So am I." We stood in quiet. It did not fix everything, but it did not break anything either. That was progress. Years later, at a closing room project event, my father asked if he could speak. I was nervous. Vivian was more nervous. Grace whispered, "If he says one wrong thing, I'm pulling the fire alarm." But I let him. My father stood before a small group of parents and adult children and said, "I once tried to make my daughter give her dream home to my son because I was ashamed of my son's failure and afraid of my daughter's success. I called it family. It was not. It was theft dressed as balance." The room went silent. My mother cried in the back. I cried too. He continued, "If your daughter succeeds, do not treat her success as overflow. If your son fails, do not make her future his rescue plan. Let your children own what they build." People stood. Not everyone, but enough. Afterward, Grace said, "Leonard has become useful in a non-financial way." That was her blessing. My mother later started helping at the project too. She served tea and told mothers, "Do not bring your tears to a signing table unless you are ready to tell the truth." That made women laugh, but they listened. The pain of Willow Crest did not disappear. It became part of me. Not a wound that bled every day, a scar that warned me when old patterns approached. Sometimes I still wondered what my life would have been like there. In the library, in the sunroom, in the garden. Maybe I would have healed there too. Maybe not. But I know this. The home I have now was not born from pressure. No one chose rooms before I arrived. No one offered me the cottage. No one waited in a title office with hidden documents. No one cried on my deed. The key entered my hand clean. That matters more than square footage. My family gave my $2 million dream home to my brother, so I stopped the closing and cut them off. People love the dramatic part. The title room, the folder, the refinance clause, the deposit, the shocked faces, the canceled wire, the brother panicking, the father exposed, the mother crying, the woman walking away from the house. Everyone thought she wanted too badly to lose. I understand. It is dramatic, but the real story is about the courage to lose something beautiful before it becomes another cage. It is about realizing that not every dream should survive the way people treated it. It is about choosing yourself even when the price is high. It is about understanding that family can love you and still feel entitled to your life if entitlement has been fed long enough. And it is about learning that cutting people off is not always hatred. Sometimes it is stopping the supply of your own disappearance. If you are listening, and your family is pressuring you before a closing, before a purchase, before an inheritance, before any major decision, slow down. Do not sign in a room full of tears. Do not assign your contract because someone says children need space. Do not surrender your deposit because a brother needs another chance. Do not accept the cottage in your own dream. Do not let anyone tell you that because you can recover, they are allowed to take. Survival is not permission. Strength is not consent. Money is not extra because it belongs to a woman without children. A house is not too much because one person lives there. And a dream is not selfish because you earned it alone. Call the lawyer. Pause the wire. Read page 5. Ask who benefits. Ask who benefits. Ask what debt is hiding. Ask why they waited until the last minute. Ask why your joy needed a family meeting without you. Then decide. Maybe you still close. Maybe you walk away. Maybe you delay. Maybe you buy something else later in silence. But whatever you do, make sure the key you receive opens a home, not another prison. Today, I live in a house my family did not choose. The library gets morning light. The garden has roses. The sunroom is small but perfect. There is no guest cottage. No room assigned to me by people who wanted the main house. On the wall near my desk, I framed the lucky pen from the failed closing. Under it, Grace added a label. The pen that refused the cottage. I told her it was too dramatic. She said, so were they. She won. My name is Naomi Bennett. My family gave my dream home to my brother. I stopped the closing. Cut off the money. Closed the doors. Lost the house. Found myself. And learned that sometimes the dream you walk away from becomes the price you pay to finally own your life.